Hi, Jonathan Pickup. Welcome to my movie on controlling cameras. In this movie we're going to look at 4 areas of cameras. First of all, we'll look at the visualization palette, that's the one you can see on the screen, and how this can be used to activate and deactivate cameras. Next we'll look at fine-tuning the camera to get just the view we want, and then we're going to look at how we can use cameras to create a viewport, and then how we can edit the cameras inside the viewport once we've made it. If you like this movie, please give me a thumbs up. It really helps other people to find my movies. And also hit the subscribe button and the bell so that you get notified every time I post a new movie. If you found this movie was really useful and you really learned something from it, consider giving me a super thanks. It really helps me to have the money to continue to make these high quality videos. Okay, let's get started. So in this file, I've got 3 cameras. There's one here, this is the look of it there, and there's 2 over here. And I've got my visualization palette over here. If I click on this column here, Vectorworks will activate that camera. If I click on this one, it will activate that camera. And notice that when I activate one of these non-animation cameras, I get these little holders around here, like little picture holders of the old days when we used to stick our photographs into our photograph books. And you'll notice that when I changed from camera 2 to camera 1, it actually changed the graphic style or the rendering style. And that's because on my camera, you can see my camera over here, it's given me the ability to control the render mode on my camera. So if I go back to camera 2, we'll have a look. The rendering mode for this one is shaded. So that's one of the things that it can do. Now if the camera is activated and you move the view, so let's just move our view around. Cool, so we've done that. Now let's have a look at our plan view. So I'm going to go back to my plan view. Notice what it's done to my camera. My camera's moved all the way over here. So I'm going to put my camera back to where I wanted, which was to look at that painting. Let's activate our camera again, and there it is there. Now if you deactivate the camera and then move your view around, then it doesn't change the camera position. You notice now in plain view, the camera's still in exactly the same position it was before. Now how do we fine-tune a camera? So if we look at camera number 2, this is the one that's the shaded view, we can grab hold of the ends of the camera and we can actually change the camera quite quickly by changing these or moving these blue handles. And this will change dramatically the look of that view. So let's look at camera 2. You notice that's a very wide angle view now. Let's change that back to a non-wide angle view and change back, and it looks more natural. So back to a top plane view. So the other thing we can do is we can click on the fine-tune camera view here, and it'll bring up this dialog box for us to actually dynamically change it. So we can change the camera height, getting just the camera height that we want. We get the look to height, we can choose whether we're looking up, whether we're looking down, whether we're looking straight across. We can pan the camera around left and right. It's really handy when I need to do that. And the camera distance, I can change this as well so that I can change where my camera starts to look. You notice I go outside the building at some point so you can't see the painting. This is changing the focal length or whether it's a wide angle view or a telephoto view. Normal is around about 50 millimeters, and we can also change the perspective, which I don't tend to do. And we can also change the render mode there. So now the next thing we can do is we can make this camera into a viewport. View, create viewport. So now I've got some choices. Do I want to link the camera to my viewport? And it will take the camera from the design layer and stick it in the viewport, and I'll never see it again. I can link to a copy of the camera, so the original camera stays in the design layer and the copy's placed in the viewport. Or is it not linked to the camera at all? Now I tend to do this option here where I link it to the viewport because quite often I don't want too many cameras lying around in my view. Okay, so now I set up a viewport. So I need a new sheet layer here. Let's choose a sheet layer. I won't worry about naming it. And I can create a label. I don't want a label. I can choose which layers and classes I see. I can choose a scale. And I won't know whether this is the right scale until I have placed this on my sheet layer. So let's go OK. And there it is on my sheet layer. Let's just have a look how big's my piece of paper. There it is there. You can see it's actually 2 big at the moment, so I need to make this slightly smaller, and sometimes I make it a custom scale so that I can just type in, so maybe 1 to 75 would be about right, or 1 to 175 might be about right, and it puts it on my drawing for me. How do I edit the camera? Right click on my viewport, edit my camera, and okay, now the quickest way I found, jump back to a plan view and then change that view. Cool, you notice it's changed automatically. But this is just a really quick way of creating all of your viewports with the rendering and the cameras. So that's it. Hope you really enjoyed this movie. Don't forget to give me a thumbs up and subscribe if you haven't already subscribed. And hey, if you really liked this movie and you thought that I did something really useful, please give me a super thanks. It really helps me to make enough money to spend time making these movies.